Chaile Time.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Chaile Time. Toby, welcome to 2026 and to Chaile Time and to Effectus Harmony.
Tsepo, first one for this year.
Yeah.
How was the leave?
It was nice.
Was it nice?
I rested well, because I was working hard last year.
Working hard. This year's going to be better and bigger.
I can see that.
You must remember this phrase, G to G. You know what it means?
No.
From good to great.
Yeah? No, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Now we've got a stacked lineup for this year. A lot of new business. We're growing, which is nice. And I'm excited and looking forward to Chaile Time. First one for the year. I don't know. Is this like episode 111 or something?
Yeah, 111, somewhere there.
111. I think it's 111, I speak under correction. But we're getting there.
Yes, we're getting there. Before we get to today, what do you have in terms of politics? News. What's happening in the world?
I think there's a lot happening in the news. Yes. We just have to watch Big Brother in America. There's a lot happening there.
I believe you opened a playground there in the ocean there, playing with.
It's good. I mean, yes, other governments will send in armies to effect regime change. He just sends a helicopter. Go take him out and get it done.
No, but I'm talking about now your Iran ships, your Russia ships, apparently they're here in South Africa.
Yeah, but apparently they've asked the Iran ships just to be an observer, not to participate because of the politics. But anyway, so, it seems like AGOA, the extension of AGOA, passed the House of Representatives. Now it must go to the Senate, and so far South Africa is still included in it. So we'll wait and see what the pen of Uncle Bob does, or Uncle Don these days.
Uncle Donna.
Uncle Donna. And it's also a big week for South Africans in terms of getting employment equity submissions done this week.
Yeah, so our colleague is being, and yesterday she almost had a heart attack because apparently the system crashed.
Our colleague.
Our beloved colleague.
No, the employment equity system is a very sensitive system.
Yeah.
It's like a woman. You need to be very nice to her. But interesting, Tsepo, just one or two things, other things in the news that I think is quite interesting.
Yes.
There's this article in Business Tech speaking about the people who are most likely to find a job in South Africa. Just interesting. It says here that people with a tertiary qualification, they have a 7.5% transition rate into employment, where people without a matric only manage a 4.8%. So it still goes to show that if you have a qualification, it helps a bit. Especially in the age of AI and YouTube, people ask, why should I get a qualification, So it shows that it still matters. And then also, people with prior work experience have a much better chance of finding a job, compared to 2.6 for those without experience. But here's the interesting thing is our Minister, Mr. Chaile Mabula, he actually is lobbying currently to scrap experience rules for entry-level jobs.
I have a lot of questions in that. I'm happy for the first article that at least people are going to get jobs, because it's been tough. In the past few episodes that we spoke about a lot of retrenchments. We spoke about the smelter that was shutting down. We spoke about Ford was retrenching. There were rumors about Coca-Cola also. But hearing news like this, it's boosting.
So are you for it or against it?
Which one?
It's scrapping experience as a requirement for entry-level jobs.
I'm not against it. I'm for it, but I'm asking myself, ANC people, when they talk, we will. But, it seems like it's hard to get to the end. Whenever they say we will, I don't know. I don't trust him. How is he going to do it? Is he talking like this because we are nearing the local municipality elections, local government elections? Or
that's the problem. It can very easily just be talks. Now, me personally, I also support it. But I think it's a South African cultural issue. It is, It's like braai. It's a South African thing. You're not going to change it. But I'm not saying we can't change it, but there is a bit of a mindset change because most employers, they want experience before they employ somebody. And I mean, I have grown people with no experience and look at where they are today. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. So, but I think it's a mindset change. Now, obviously, there are jobs where you can't do it.
Yes.
I mean, if you need to be a doctor or an IT technician, I mean, you need some experience. But there are a lot of jobs where you can actually spend the time and train people. It'll go a bit slow in the beginning, but it's not that bad, really, man. At the end of the day, that person's got a mentor in the company, and the mentors still oversee what they're doing. 100%. So it's not really such a big an issue.
It's not about that with me. It's who said it now. Fikile Mbalula. ANC SG. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but did you see the stadium was half empty, Tepo?
Maybe people are getting a wake-up call. That is why now the surrounds in the socials. I see black men are wearing VF plus regalia.
You are touching a nerve here now. I just this morning saw a podcast. I've saved the podcast so I can actually listen to it. But I saw the heading. It's some black chap whose podcast this is. And my goodness, who's phoning me now? Sorry, I just had to silence a call there. So I just saw this heading that apparently there's a conversation under blacks in South Africa to make Pieter Groenewald president. I'm like, what happened to John Steenhuisen?
They say, okay, also he's got...
Pieter Groenewald from his Freedom Front Plus. He must have done something right.
Yeah. Is he not the minister of something?
Of correctional services.
Yes.
Look, I've read headlines. Apparently he's doing very well there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of rules and people are working now and then they're not just doing it and lay now. It seems like he's doing something really good that side. So that's why people are gaining trust. But well, I guess politics, let's park politics for now and focus on our podcast. What are we talking about today?
Table today now. The heading is Sick Leave or Sick Lie? The truth about fake medical certificates. Now, when it comes to this time of each year, December, holidays, the 16th of December, Christmas, New Year, yes, then people are sick, eh? You know, people don't come to work and I get all the calls, you know, and lo and behold, we didn't close December and we never closed. So yes, I got an influx of 6 medical notes this year. And you know what? It's fake.
Are they really sick or they just sick?
People, they want to be off. They want to paint the house. I mean, you did the hearing like 3-4 days ago. Now, in that hearing, which you did now, the employer phoned me. This guy just took off for a couple of days. And when he eventually came back, now he was sick. So they asked him for a sick note. Now he forgot it at home. So they told him, go home and go fetch it.
And so now I forgot it in the hospital.
So he stayed away. Then suddenly, no, he forgot it at the hospital. Suddenly the hospital don't have it either.
No, he eventually confessed to say he was lying.
Okay, so I wasn't part of the hearing. So he actually confessed.
He confessed that he was lying. He was sick, but he never went to the hospital.
But now he tells the employer, I've got a note, I must just go home and go fetch it, you know.
Yeah. And I dealt with like 3 fake signals because typed on the portal, the practice number doesn't exist. When you look at the geographical map, where is the place located? One is just an internet cafe somewhere in Mamelodi there.
Yeah.
And then actually the employee confessed that, that's where I got mine.
At the internet cafe?
In the internet cafe. And then the other one was like, no, close to a school somewhere. So there is actually the medical center for that place.
Yeah.
But she did not get the medical certificate at the medical center. Mm-hmm. When they checked the records, she never consulted the practice number on her medical certificate. It's completely wrong, does not exist. So what happened is that someone else went to the actual original center. So the HR manager pulled that and said, but this one, and actually there's a QR scanner on that. You can do a QR scanner and it can show that this place exists somewhere. But her QR scanner didn't scan, number one. Practice number, it's completely different from the original one. When they phoned the facility, checking the record, she never visited them. And then in the hearing, she ended up saying, no, I never went to this one. I went somewhere.
But Sebo, this is a huge frustration for employers, and it's happening all the more these days where people are taking off sick and they actually go to the corner shop to buy a certificate. And I've seen in the news probably a year ago, give or take, where there was actually an article in the news, somewhere in Johannesburg, they bust this room, but it was quite a big room where this foreigner, illegal immigrant, was managing documents. And they had a whole floor. I mean, you can buy anything, ID, MBA degree, any degree you can imagine, medical notes, everything you can just buy from
Bank statement.
Banks, I'm telling you, they sorted, man. I'm telling you, the guys, these Chinas are sorted, man. And you know what's it's happening a lot. Hey, you just go to the China somewhere and get a note, eh?
So what do we do in our profession now when we encounter things
So
like
the purpose of today is to give some tips for an employer what to do. Employers are not without recourse. It will take some work, but also I want to give some legal context so people can employers specifically can understand what to do. And then also for employees to understand that if you're going to go to the China and I'm saying China like that guy, I'm not saying the Chinese now. Don't think
to an oak.
I'm not to an oak. I'm not implying the Chinese are doing this. You know how we talk slang, that China, you know. So if you're going to go to the oak, to buy a fake note, okay, that's actually fraud. It's actually a criminal offense, and you really need to think twice before you do that. But okay, so what can we do? So just as a case study quickly, we do have a doctor's note. Here's the one that I received in December. I have blocked out the name of the person. What's quite interesting is, so there you have I've blocked out the name of the employee, but the doctor is a Dr. A.N. Chaile and Associates with a practice number of 0109495. And as you can see then, when what an employer can do is you can take the note and go onto the HPCSA website. Why? Because here's the thing, if you look at the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Section 23, that deals with medical certificates. Basically, if an employee has been absent from work for ill health for more than 2 days, then, an employer may request a medical certificate. And it says here, the medical certificate must be issued and signed by a medical practitioner or any other person who is certified to diagnose and treat patients and who is registered with a professional council established by an Act of Parliament. And the HPCSA, the Health Professional Council of South Africa, is such a professional body that's registered with an Act of Parliament. So you can actually go on their website, and this is what we've done with this doctor's note, and you type in the doctor's note. And it's interesting, you type in the doctor's practice number, and when we did that, the practice actually belongs to a Dr. Boitumelo Madeleine, a completely different doctor. So obviously somebody's now starting to copy practice numbers and making fake sick notes. And the scary part is I then also went to type in Dr. Chaile. Even though there are Dr. Chaile's, that specific doctor in terms of the medical note doesn't exist.
So that oak is busy.
Yeah.
That oak, somewhere in an internet cafe or in a third floor building somewhere, it's busy.
Yeah. So, but what now? Okay. How do we deal with this as an employer? So, firstly, when you do receive a doctor's note, you have the right as an employer to investigate the validity or legality of that doctor's note. And there are certain requirements of a doctor's note to be valid. And I think there are certain actions that you can take as part of this investigation process. So let's just go through some requirements of what should be on a doctor's note. That can be indication of legality or validity. And thereafter, let's go through some case law. We've got a two Labour Appeal Court judgments that I want to reference to that give us some context, and also a CCMA arbitration award to see how it works live in action. But first, the professional, as per Section 17 of the Health Professions Act, okay, the following people can actually make a medical note, okay? Doctors registered with the HPCSA, dentists registered with the HPCSA, and psychologists with a master's degree in educational counseling or clinical psychology that are actually registered with the council, the Health Professional Council of South Africa. And also traditional healing certificates. Certificates are valid only if the healer is registered with the traditional healers practitioner the Traditional Healers Practitioners Council, established under the Traditional Healers Council Act of 2007. It is now a formalized and registered and accredited body. So a traditional healer who are registered at that council can indeed offer a certificate, a medical certificate, and it will be regarded as valid. But what should now be on this certificate? And here we take guidelines from the ethical and the professional rules of the Medical and Dental Professions Board of the Health Professions Council of South Africa. Rule 15.1 states the following. The following elements must be present on a medical certificate. So if these elements are not there, a red flag should go up somewhere. Okay, so number one, the name, the address, and the qualification of the practitioner must be on there. The name of the patient, the employment number of the patient if it's applicable, the date and the time of the examination, whether the certificate is being issued as a result of personal observations by the practitioner during an examination or as a result of information received from the patient and which is based on acceptable medical grounds, a description of the illness, disorder, or malady in layman's terminology with the informed consent of the patient, provided that if the patient is not prepared to give such consent, the medical practitioner or dentist shall merely specify that in his or her opinion, based on an examination of the patient is unfit to work. Then whether the patient is totally indisposed for duty or whether the patient is able to perform less strenuous duties in the work situation, the exact period of recommended sick leave, the date of issuing of the certificate of illness, and lastly, a clear indication of the identity of the practitioner who issued the certificate, which shall be personally and originally signed by him or her next to his or her initials and surname and printed on block letters. So these are the requirements that must be on a medical certificate. So when you do receive a medical certificate, check it for this, for these elements. And if it is not there, then you can have a red flag already. But now here's the thing. Let's move into the legal context quickly. So there's two Labour Appeal Court cases that I want to deal with quickly. The one is the Woolworths case, a Labour Appeal Court case. It is Woolworths versus Maseko and others. This is a 2024 Woolworths case. Quite interesting. In a nutshell, just as a bit of an overview of a summary, this case basically explains that an employer must hold on. Don't start too quickly blaming your employee for dishonesty if they submit a fraudulent note, okay? Because it may be that the employee was not aware that the note is actually fraudulent, okay? So you need to investigate whether an employee knowingly and intentionally submitted a falsified sick note. And that came out in this Woolworths case. So in the Woolworths case, the employee was off ill and went to a doctor, Dr. Frempong. But now, after investigation, when the doctor challenged when the employer challenged the validity of this note, it came out that it was actually not the doctor himself who signed this note. What happened is his assistant, so the doctor's got two branches. His assistant, who's not qualified, who is not a doctor, was helping out at the one branch. and then he was helping out at another branch. So the employee went to, in her mind, a legal institution, to a doctor, where she saw Dr. Zanelle, who then diagnosed her. But the practice was that before she will write a sick note, she will first phone the doctor to explain what she found, and then the doctor will confirm a sick note or so, and then she will then sign a sick note. So in this case, she was not authorized legally to dispose of a medical certificate, and that is a problem. So yes, it is a fraudulent sick note, but and the CCMA found this, the Labour Court found this, and the Labour Appeal Court found that as far as the employee was concerned, she just went to the doctor. She didn't know that anything is untoward or is fake or whatever the case may be. It's only once the employer investigated, after they found these irregularities. Now, what's quite interesting is on the HPCSA website, you can actually report a doctor for any irregularities or malpractice or whatever the case may be. So there are civil means of filing a dispute or suing a medical practitioner for irregularities. But now the question is, can you take that out on the employee? So this is where an employer must be careful, not to be quickly to the gun and try to put someone in hearing and dismiss them for dishonesty, because it may be that the employee was not aware, even though on the face of it, and in real terms it is a fake and fraudulent note, it doesn't mean the employee was dishonest. But having said that, there is another case. This is the Sibanye-Rustenburg Platinum Mine versus the AMCU case, where the Labour Court actually confirmed, that if an employee is knowingly submitting a fake sick note, that employee actually commits fraud. So in this case, where you could see the elements of fraud, is number one is when the employer investigates the doctor's office rooms, the employees, it's actually more than one employee, they never actually attended to the doctor's rooms. And secondly, the signature on the medical note was of an unidentified person, so nobody knew who that person was. Okay. So an employer can investigate to see what the situation is, whether it is a valid note or not. And in this case, it was found that the employees actually knowingly submitted the false note, and they confirmed. The people confirmed this is dishonesty.
I have arbitration tomorrow. Ne?
Yeah, you do.
For the same.
Is it for the same kind of offense?
Yes.
What happened?
An employee submitted a sick note, and then the manager took it upon to do investigation. He even drove to see, because he tried to phone the phone number there, it's not going through. He checked the practice number, it's not appearing. And then he took the company car and drove to the facility. And when he got there, it's just a normal house. There's nothing that says. But now the comrade is interfering now, because the comrade is involved, and then apparently he's a chairperson of some sort of a union,
the standing committee.
Yes, when we were doing conciliation, he was loud and telling me how much he's a chairperson of what, and then they will bring that doctor to come and testify, and then blah 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 blah. So same thing happened. The manager took effort to investigate, first check the practice number.
But that manager must be there as a witness.
Yeah, he is there as a witness with me tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's been worse ever since I came back to work from my leave, actually. It's been worse, like almost the case. It's either it's absenteeism or it's fake doctor's note.
But you must use these case laws.
Yes, I'm
using it. Now, interesting, we've got a CCMA arbitration award here that somebody shared with me on the topic.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Let's leave out the names. This was 28 October 2024. Same thing. So basically, and what I want to explain now, the focus of this is, and I think this commissioner captured this idea very well here. Where is that now? There it is. The courts have confirmed that a doctor's note is hearsay evidence. And we're going to go through that now, because commission in this award actually dependent on that.
Yes.
Okay. Hearsay evidence. So an employer is well within their right, if they are questioning the validity of a doctor's note, to actually request of the employee to go to the doctor, either to bring the doctor into the hearing as a witness, or to at least get an affidavit from the doctor that he visited him, he was diagnosed, and that he booked him off as per the medical note, and that the medical note was authorized by him. You can actually do that. And this case illustrates that. So in this case, the employee was off for 4 days. Now, this was October, but now in September he already received, I think, a final written warning for absenteeism. But now, then a month later, it happened again, where for 4 days he just disappeared. He was charged for unauthorized absenteeism. Now, just on that point, he never spoke to the employer when he stayed away. He didn't phone to ask permission or to explain himself whatsoever. He just came back after the 4-day period of absence. Now, on that technicality, he's already guilty of the charge, unauthorized absenteeism. So the whole argument about a medical note was not really necessary to find him guilty on the charge, because it was common cause that he never contacted the employer. But be that as it may, the case also turned on the validity of the medical note. So when he came back, he didn't submit a note. The company requested a note. It took him 10 days to produce a medical note, which is quite interesting. The HR administrator sent it to head office, the medical note, to investigate, and then their opinion was it was fake. It was not a valid note. And this is now the thing. So they hold a hearing. And then they ask the employee to go to the doctor, pull him into the hearing as a witness, or at least get an affidavit. So the employee came back and said, no, the doctor is not willing to give an affidavit, nor to come in to testify. Because the employer was of the view this is hearsay evidence. So on those grounds, the employee was then dismissed. So he subsequently went to the CCMA, where the commissioner also found in favor of the employer. And interesting is the commissioner asked him why then the doctor apparently said, if upon request by the CCMA, you will come and testify at the CCMA. So the commissioner just asked him, but why did you not bring him here to come and testify? And then the employee said he saw no need to call the doctor as a witness because he had a union rep representing him.
Oof.
Go figure that out. It doesn't make sense, but anyway.
Comrade.
Standing committee. But the commissioner then said, listen, hearsay evidence. Subsections 1 and 4 of Section 3 of the Laws of Evidence Amendment Act in the relevant parts provide as follow. Hearsay evidence. Subject to the provisions of any other law, hearsay evidence shall not be admitted as evidence at criminal or civil proceedings. Now remember, labor is civil, okay? Unless each party against whom the evidence is to be adduced agrees to the admission thereof as evidence at such proceedings. So this is quite important. Even in a hearing, if there's hearsay evidence has been submitted, both parties must actually agree to the admissibility of that evidence, okay? And in this hearing, that did not happen. They did not agree to the validity of it. Number 2, the person upon whose credibility the probative value of such evidence depends, the doctor, himself testify at such proceedings. That's actually a general principle. When you in a hearing, for instance, submit documentary evidence, you should actually have the author of that document or somebody who's an authority on that document to testify to the validity of it. The only problem is that most of the times when an employer or an employee submit documentary evidence, the other parties don't necessarily challenge the validity of it. Okay? But you should actually. Okay? But in this case, the person upon whose credibility the probative value of such evidence depends himself testify at such proceedings. For the purpose of this section, hearsay evidence means evidence, whether oral or in writing, the probative value of which depends upon the credibility of any person other than the person giving such evidence. So if I give a medical note, the validity or the credibility of that note depends on the doctor.
On the doctor, yeah.
That person must come and testify. So for employers, you don't just have to accept a doctor's note on face value. You can look for the validity of it, and you can actually ask, go get an affidavit. Or get that so-called doctor of yours to come sit here and testify. And the employer, well done, won the case.
Yeah. Did well.
Because the employee couldn't prove. He saw no need.
No, this is very important so that everyone can know, even employees can learn that, you know what, you can easily lose your job because of this kind of things, because you're taking it for granted. You say, you know, I just want to go and have Christmas. I'm going to take the 23rd, 24th, and come back on the 26th. Yeah. And I know an oak somewhere who's going to arrange for me. Yeah. That is very dangerous because, you know, number one, there's portals where you can just type in the practice number.
Yes.
And then most of the time from the oak, it doesn't appear, you see.
So quickly, if you receive a doctor's note as the employer, just go through it and check and see if the required elements are present. Look for the practice number, the signatures, the dates, the addresses. You can phone the doctor and see if they actually exist or whether they actually pick up their phone. You will find that often they actually don't ever pick up their phone because they're fake. You can actually send somebody to visit the location. You can actually check on the HPCSA website to see if that doctor actually exists, and also whether, and if they exist, whether they're still actively practicing or not, because it actually indicates that also. And then if you are questioning the validity, call the employee and say, listen, you would like to have an affidavit from the doctor. Or if there's a hearing, call the doctor in as a witness to come and testify. So there's all these avenues available to the employers. You don't just have to accept. But also just be cautious that if it's evident that the doctor's note is fraudulently obtained, it is fraud, okay? Don't easily accuse the employee. You need to test whether the employee did this knowingly or not, because sometimes you walk into a situation you don't really know. You also just approach a doctor in good faith. You don't really know what is going on there. I think it's one thing if you go to a place and buy a doctor's note. It's another thing if you go to a valid doctor's room, but the person treating you is not actually a doctor, so you won't know that. And that's what the Woolworths case actually showed us. The person who went to a doctor who pretended to be a doctor, but the employee didn't know. It's only afterwards when the employer investigated that they found that, but listen, there's monkeys in the closet here.
This is what they say, Konokshire mans.
Whatever. That's for this week, Tepo.
Okay, no, that was very educational and very insightful. Thank you for that. Any job reviews for this week? Or is it too early in the year? We were talking about jobs.
I saw, listen, on our networks, there's a lot of jobs flying. I'm sure there will be. Yeah, even this morning there's jobs. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you must subscribe to our channel. At the end there's job reviews. And these vacancies are fresh vacancies within the last 7 days or so, you know. So this is not just old repostings of old vacancies. Yeah, so anyway, Tsepo, see you next week and good luck with your arbitration tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.
Nice thing for you.
See you next time. Capiche?
Good morning, everyone. Let's have a look at some of the vacancies posted nationwide on our Harmony People's Network this week. First up, a medium-sized manufacturing company based in North Durban is seeking a senior bookkeeper/finance manager to join their team. SMS Consulting is looking for a qualified HR manager in Richards Bay. THC is looking for an energetic and well-groomed receptionist in the East Rand. And last but not least, Botsy Drill and Blast is hiring a HR manager in the mining sector. For the full information of the mentioned positions, how to apply, as well as more available positions, find the vacancy link in the description. You will also find a link to a useful video on how to compose a winning CV and have a successful interview. Tune in again next week for more Harmony vacancies.